draft. Questions were in chat about, can this be a TT2-0? What's going to happen here? It's Fearless Draft. You're not going to be able to see them slam in the same kind of composition. Again, 1xN has had the Lucian and the Varus removed. Can't play the Ezreal again. AD carry champion pool, which I was worried about at the start of the day, getting pinched. Had a great Ezreal game. Does he have anything else that can match that?
He's got a fairly wide champion pool, so we'll have to wait and see. Of course, the success of those champions at the LPL level has been a little bit limited, but I don't think the level of play has been that punished as yet. And of course, Milky Way pulled out in Italy and didn't really make it work. Got a lot of kills, and the scoreline looked okay until you looked at things like the XP differential in the jungle. It's never a good sign when your Nidalee is behind 3 levels to the enemy Viego. So, see a little bit better out of the superstar for FPX, this rookie Savant, who is yet to really make himself felt this series. The bans have been focused towards a few of those key picks you noticed. Hoya having the Rumble removed as well, of course, is a big player of that champion.
I'm surprised that they would ban that themselves. That could be a first pick and a flex pick between, particularly Life and Shallow, who great pickers of that champion. So I'd imagine they want to first pick. Well, this is the thing. They don't even have to worry about first picking the Skarner away because that's not even available to TT. They can let that go through. They could pick Tristana. That'll be a big thing. They go for the Corki instead. Kerr is a Corki player. LPL Corki has had some memes, but now it's gone to AD, more battle Corki. I think that works out better for this. You give over the Tristana though, and honestly, I think UCal is on the shortlist for best Tristana in the LPL between him and Scout.
It's very good. He has been historically so good at that. It's just Bejuan lock in something like the Karthus immediately to go alongside it. Otherwise, I wonder whether Milky Way looks towards it.
And just a reminder, folks, because it is new to LPL proper, you can pick champions which the enemy team did, but you can't pick champions that you did in previous games. Now, this was banned away a lot recently and played a lot recently. Karthus locked in for TT. I'd imagine they will lock in that Tristana as well, unless they think that they can leave mid lane pick until third pick, because they know that the Corki is being picked there instead. That would be a Hoya special. Renekton, Karthus, AD, AP top lane. We have actually seen Renekton, Karthus as a duo in the VCS back in about 2020-21. Huge thing between Levi and Kiaya, two very famous players from Gama Esports. They loved this duo over there in Vietnam. And this does potentially give the option for FPX to take away Tristana if they wanted to throw down bot side, but instead they are going towards AD, AP themselves with the Lilia locked in.
And Milky Way certainly knows his way around a Lilia, but Bejuan, big Karthus player of old. Do you know what his win rate is on Karthus?
No, what is it?
100%.
Holy shit, how many games on that?
5-0 currently.
That's not bad. If it was only 2 games or something, I'd be questioning it. But Bejuan had a good farming game on the Karthus. I think he was the better jungler in game 1. Now if he goes towards this Karthus, this is looking good for them.
Of course, Karthus not historically the most common jungle champion, so obviously there are a number of other champions. Bejuan's got more time in, but that's still a fairly significant stat to pull out. So see whether we can keep up that win rate and make this a 2-0. For the side of Thundertalk, and you got to call it out, as you said, he probably was the better jungler in game 1.
He was. I think Milky Way was shut out on the Nidalee, and I think the Nidalee was hard to play, so there's some difficulty in there, but still, I think Bejuan had a good game on the whole. He has himself a great card this game so far, has a good matchup in the top side, has a good matchup between, both of his solo laners. He's going to have great value onto Corki and onto the Lilia as well. It's not like Corki wants to go towards a Hex Drinker against just the Karthus when he has to play against the Tristana, so that's going to be difficult for him. So already, this is looking like a bit of a dangerous composition for FPX to play into. The Skarner does have great value, though. Skarner's good into Karthus because he can just run straight at him. It doesn't matter that the Wall of Pain goes down, and you can always get on top of him. So that's something that they need to be aware of. And now it's going towards full support ban nation. We are diving deep into the champion pool of both of these.
Eyes on things like the Nymaera. I wonder whether that's why the Pike got banned, as that's a really nasty combo with that champion. We saw it the other day.
You don't want to play Nymaera into Karthus Renekton. That sounds hellish.
Can you blade well the ultimate?
From which one?
From Karthus.
Is it a projectile?
I don't know.
No, so no.
No, it's not.
It's just a giant space laser, Sam.
It's just a space laser.
You know, Sam, you go into solo queue, you play Nymaera, and you press W in Karthus ult and see what happens. We'll do it that way. 1xN has been a big Jinx player in the past, and the Aphelios. Both of these hovered over. 1xN's Aphelios. Now, this is a champion which he came into the league with, and actually in his very first split, stomped Jackie Love in a game. He was so good at this champion, even against the Zeri of that time. Dogtown I think this was a powerful pick for him now. I think that Jhin has very good value. It's kind of outranging a lot of the damage coming in from TT. I would actually really like to see that locked in. Good laning phase versus the Aphelios too. And there's no hyper tank that he can't kill on the other side. It's a good Jhin angle.
Theoretically opens up life to go for something a bit fun alongside it. So there it is, the CC and poke. Damn huge. Now a Blitzcrank doubling up with that would be theoretically very dangerous. Of course, the Deadly Flourish means it's very difficult then to miss the rocket grab afterwards.
I think this is actually a takeaway from Chocho. Chocho's a big Blitzcrank player, and it's also great with the Aphelios, so that's a good takeaway. You could have gone into the, the Gravitum into the root on the other side, so it's a good duo in itself, but it's also a good takeaway from some of the remaining picks. Rel is going to get locked in for Chocho on the other side. Finally have themselves a big engage option towards that support role. I'm now looking at big long-range capabilities from FPX. You can go towards the lethality on the Corki if you want. It wouldn't surprise me if this just goes towards the Trinity Force all the same, though, to have a bit more brawling stats versus the Tristana. But all the same, I think that FPX, good ability to land random Lilia E's, random Jhin W's, and then win a team fight based off of that. On the other side, if TT get themselves a big engage where you can have the Karthus and everyone else running forward, I think that's how they win the game.
I largely agree. The picks from the side, Chocho and the rest of them could be quite difficult to manage. And that Jhin, that Blitzcrank combo, very deadly for Doc Damn and Life on the other side. But, we've seen what Karthus can do already today. Beichuan starting off this series with a very confident farming game on the Viego to become an absolute menace. Milky Way on the Lilia can look to match and recover some of that spark we were expecting from game one.
And he has to be a large core of this composition. I think also, looking at Care on the Corki can be very, very impactful too. Corki has become a very powerful pick coming into summer. This change from AP to AD has made the champion a very different archetype. Doctam, I'm not expecting him to carry. You know why I'm not expecting him to carry, Sam? He's 1 and 5 all time on the pick, and he hasn't played it in about a year. So it's been a little while since he's had that one. So not necessarily expecting the best things out of that bot lane, especially against 1xN on the Aphelios, who is such a stud at this champion, man. All the same, FPX rally it behind the farming AP jungler. We expected that to be the approach from them coming into summer, given the meta. TT on the other side, though, I'm actually quite happy with the draft they've locked in.
Horizon, of course, Milky Way only played the one game of Lilia before compared to Beijuan's slightly more experienced Karthus. 0-1 on the champion, but of course only played the one game. It's not a lot of sample size to work with. Oh yeah, slipped behind enemy lines right now, but it is FPX with the Blitzcrank, looking to maybe start off with something a little bit interesting.
Level 1 when on these teams is a little strange. Of course, I think FPX had every right to look towards that. I mean, level 1 Karthus, not the best. You kind of need that wall of pain in a lot of different skirmishes. It's great if someone can lock someone up for you, but not great on your own. And of course, the Aphelios is basically not a champion in the first level of the game either. He has one ability, which is switching between stuff. Care has the Halo Blaze. Good damage!
Yukal immediately forced to flash away the autos, rolling along. Yukal just about alive. He has actually gone towards the Ignite themselves, but already forced to back at level 1.
Oh no. They saw the fact that it was very likely going to be a brawling AD carry versus AD carry mid lane matchup, but Care with the Halo Blades shreds him down. The hook lands from life. Yukal loses both summoners and is going to be in an awful spot to start off game number 2. What can happen in the other lanes, though, for TT to have a point of pressure to play around if they don't have it in mid lane?
Be the question to talk about, and Yukal was such a huge part of how they won the last game. That LeBlanc's so very difficult to manage. Already Care coming out with a much more commanding start to the game. Beichuan low on the mana, but of course got a blue buff, and just Karthus in general who gets all of those mana refunds on killing people with the Qs.
Is Karthus.
So it should be just fine.
He is Karthus. Now, this is the thing, right? FPX, they're level 1 affected mid lane, which will affect how jungle works as well, because you're expecting mid lane to not be pushing for the Tristana nearly as easily now. That means that Karthus needs to be aware. Now, Milky Way potentially will be looking to invade maybe on the second clear. Yukal walking forwards, though. Does he have a bomb cooldown? No, he doesn't. He went for the Q start second.
Ooh, buffers that pretty well. Cal chunking back, but of course does take a lot of damage from the wave afterwards, and Care with the teleport can look to come back pretty swiftly here, so it's already going to be a quick reset. But of course, UCal couldn't buy anything at the level 1, so this just fought to match.
Okay, so what's happened here? Care saw that UCal just reset. He gets to push in the wave, which would have frozen anyway. This is important from Kev. He hasn't backed just yet, and he needs a good first base. If he can get himself back towards a better first component, uses the Valkyrie for wave clear as well. Very important, stops UCal from freezing the wave outside of the turret. If he had gone straight back to the base and left the wave as it was, he would have lost a lot of farm over time, and UCal would have been back into the game. Intelligent play from Kev.
Again, the decision-making from UCal as well made sense. It's just the response to that is really nice and high level. Good to see those kind of decision-making processes in real time. I do like the fact that even though he went towards the Q and didn't level his E to make sure he could farm a little easier. Root lands, Blitzcrank hook. Here comes Beitron though. Knocked out of the crash down as well as predictable, but Beitron with the lane waste of the Defile running is doing so much work. Milky Way! First blood, but now so low in a dangerous position.
Triple roots.
Lands the swirl sealed, but now the root is so huge. Life gets a knockdown, but another bowling ball comes crashing on down into the moonshot. A final auto just not available to bring Togdam down. The binding eclipse on up for the power afterwards. Red buff wins it for him.
It's Beitron's 100% win rate, Carthus, and 1xN on his glorious Aphelios. This guy just does magical things on the champion. Don't look at his win rate, by the way. It's actually been entered a lot of this champion before. But 1xN, take it from us. From LDL to LPL, this guy has done so much work. 2-0-1, has a BF sword at 4 minutes. This is like back in Season 3 where you'd have to work really hard to get that item built up early on. He is going to be chilling in laning phase.
I'll look at the replay again because initially it looks great. They get the combo off.
And then things, go less good because they've used all of their abilities now. Beitron has 0 threat onto him. Docdam has no mana for extra abilities, whereas 1xN, look how he does this, continually getting the slowdown, doesn't bother flashing immediately onto Milky Way, gets to Gravitum onto all 3 members, which means that it can proc a 3-person binding eclipse. He has completely shredded this game, has the press the attack for the extra damage throughout all of this too, connects with the moonshot, waits until he can fire off and then follow up with the root. It would have ended up losing that mark a little too early otherwise. Gets through for the kill with the red buff. Fantastic play.
I think it also allows one red buff tick to time out to reapply it again
afterwards.
I
like that.
To get max value on it.
That's great.
I'm also not quite sure on the cooldowns of binding eclipse and all that stuff as well. Either way, it worked out super well.
I said press the attack. It's actually the fleet footwork, so ignore that particular point of it. But still, 1xN getting that extra red buff refresh, making sure he had the Q cooldown back on his Gravitum so he could do that. Fantastic. And gives them control over bot side. Hoya hits level 6, right, to get a good trade against the Skarner. Not sure he's going to get much here, but just gets a bit of control there. Dragon being started up. Milky Way, no flash, no mana. He's in a lot of danger here.
Emma is here at level 6, and that could get a bit spicy. Beitron backs away, but no flash on the Carthus. The Wall of Pain is good. Jojo very low, though. Over the wall goes 1xN with a Crescendo and an Inferno to try and trade this one out, and makes it a very spicy prospect indeed. Care no mana, has to flash. The jungler
fourth
down
shot,
for
fourth
both
shot on
teams.
Dragon, that's what he's looking
Gets one
for.
Very difficult. Needs to try and time it well. Gets it, no! So close. But no banana.
So you see, gets it, no, can apply to very many things in that last play, and it is 1xN, no smites on the table, who ends up taking down that dragon. This Aphelios, we called it as it was locked in. Hey, this guy is damn good at this champion. We were worried about 1xN and saying, hey, is he gonna have the best champion pool at LPL level? The Ezreal was good. Well, the Aphelios is in a great position in this draft and has done some mighty good things in this early game. Feels like TT, they're getting off to a great start again. Gold in some great places. They have given a lot of gold over to Care, and the lethality Corki, which is coming out, will assassinate people who go out of position. So now it really is all eyes on that Yordle in the mid lane to see if they can start controlling areas of the map before this Carthus starts scaling out of control.
Yeah, it could get very tricky. And of course, the other Yordle for UCal been put somewhat behind after the early plays from FPX. Down about 1,000 gold. It's pretty difficult to manage. And as you said, the lethality Corki, a lot of squishy targets for attackers. Stun for stun makes this one interesting. The Ixtal's impact will not quite get Hoya into the wall, but Lightning here alongside Milky Way makes Hoya a very difficult prospect to escape, doesn't bother burning the Dominus, of course doesn't have it for another 6 seconds on anyway, so...
It's a good timing from FPX to get towards top side and just manages to make sure that they could punish that cooldown being off of that. I don't know what happened with the slice and dice. I don't know whether he missed out on the second part or whether it was just... I didn't quite track how that trade exactly went with the dash coming through. 1xN is left alone in this bot side, though. He's so strong, and he's going towards that collector first. The right item recipe has changed to have a Dirk and a BF sword in there. He's going to be maxing his E second, so he's going to go full attack damage into full lethality after that point, which means he will one-shot everyone but Xiaola, who, by the way, when it comes into the mid-game here. Jojo, buddy, you're on vision. Yeah, back into the darkness you go.
Yeah, has to have an idea this is going on. 1xN dodges one, dodges... No! Dodge the rocket grab into the W, but well cleansed from 1xN. Sim up and available. 1xN at some point Moonlight Vigil as well. So, of a trade of abilities and that additional summon a spell in the bot lane.
1xN doesn't have his ultimate. That would have been a huge turnaround potential even in the 1v2 with the items that he has right now. Dogdam is very much an anemic Jhin. Got the wall of pain down there from Beichuan as well. He's not necessarily overtaking in terms of farm, but he is doing fine in that sense. Milky Way on the Lilia, not necessarily been able to control the game again in the way that they would have liked to, but at least they're keeping pace with Beichuan all the same. Feels like the Karthus has an easier job in this game, though, than the Lilia. The Lilia will need to be hitting these multi-man swell seeds, the flash Q ults that can change the game.
There's that collector you were talking about nice and early. A 9-minute collector. So, is pretty brutal.
So things to work off of this, by the way, folks. So there are a lot of combinations from Aphelios weapons that you need to be aware of. Typically, so this is your utility combo. It's the Infernum and Gravitum. That's your blue-purple one. These are your utility weapons. When you have big collector stuff, though, it means that even just casting your regular abilities, or often doing physical damage, it can do a lot of work just even without any attacks being factored into it as well. And when you get round to having the Calibrum, the rifle as well can be very important. Yukal didn't buffer.
Hops forwards instead, but Jojo is here. See what the thought process was. That's an ignite from life.
No, he saw that Care had no mana, and he could do that completely for free. Buys the ignite, just backs off, doesn't stay for a harder trade. I think this actually ends up being quite a good play from Yukal. Second Dragon up in a minute, second Grubs up in a minute as well. Have to see how the map splits beyond that point. The next reset's coming through.
Seismic Bulwark doing a little bit of work there, of course. Really annoying with Skarner passive, that W. Bot lane we go again. The gold actually pretty even. The fact that you have got this Corki quietly getting a significant lead in the mid lane is helping mitigate the fact that 1xN with his flashy plays is up about 2k himself.
Gotta say, man, the next fight is going to be a battle of who is going to get 100% murdered by the Fed carrier on the other side first. Is it going to be Care? Jumping forward and murdering someone, or is going to be 1xN. He doesn't have cleanse, but has flash, but he's alone here. Why have they left him alone?
Flashes away, still has the Severin Crescendo for the hook afterwards. It's huge. Lilting Lullaby gets the Moonlight Vigil up for the heal. Tries to heal his way back out, but can't secure it. They get the shutdown. And of course, it's Dogdam that picks it up.
Dogdam gets some gold back. Now, with so much committed, though, can they protect their jungler?
I think they can. That's going to be a very quick kill onto the Lilia. Hop on forward from Yukal. Trying to get some damage onto Care, who needs to live up to his namesake. The W route, though! Gonna try and get the kill with the Requiem! And Care's brought down.
Dark Harvest stacked up twice in that fight from Beichuan. Getting some extra ticking damage away onto that one, who will build up over time. And then, if he gets enough of it, 6 stacks already in 11 minutes. That's going to be nasty as hell. Beichuan running low on mana, but should be able to take this dragon all the same. There was a good shutdown onto 1xN. I thought that was going to be a big moment for FPX, but then they overstay, bluntly. And that's going to mean 2 dragons towards that bot side. Huge gold again into some important members. And they commit a lot towards this Aphelios. Now, it's a good committal. You can see that there's flash from 2 people, ults from 2 of them as well. Of course, Blitzcrank didn't even have his available for that one. Felt like, though, once you take those resources, once you go back into River, that's a huge mistake. You see the Karthus there. Chocho slips out of vision, don't get me wrong, but it does feel like that's just a huge overstay from Milky Way, and that's going to cost the team an awful lot.
You can see, look, dragon spawning. We've killed the member who's got all the gold. Surely we can play for this dragon. Not when your Blitzcrank needs to back. Not when it's only 1 or 2 members in there. Not as easy to be there as you'd think on paper, and it is another couple kills going back, and Thundertalk do bite back pretty aggressively, and that puts this Karthus in a scary position too.
Karthus, a lot of Dark Seal stacks, but on the other side, it's not like Milky Way is behind in gold. Look at this, Milky Way not too far behind Beitron. 1xn pulling out in front of absolutely everyone else. But amongst all of this, you know, you do see that UCal is not going to be that useful right now. He's going to have to wait until he gets himself to, you know, Cracker Slayer. Flicker Blades is the power spike which we see, but he's not going to be reaching that quickly. Tristana does not like playing from behind the pace of the game, which is going to mean that even though UCal, we rate him very highly as a mid laner, he's not going to have the same ability to impact as he did on the LeBlanc as he did in the mid game last time around. TT, they're not out of the woods just yet, despite the fact that they have some gold in the right places.
It's another game where the early game has been pretty evenly matched. It was the Baron fumble, really, from FPX last game that really cost them. The problem is, as you kind of notice, is the gold is 1xm with this kind of leading on Aphelios is such a terror. Of course, the Karth is going to be pretty hard to manage too, so mixed damage, yeah, very tricky. Corki, the Lily are not exactly in bad spaces themselves, so we'll see which AP AD combo comes out on top as the game continues to progress.
This Lilia needs flash as well, though, really to impact things. Hoya pulling that ult traded. I think Hoya's been doing a good job to stop Shallow, who really having his Impale really ready for anything else. I don't think the Renekton's going to be that much of a factor beyond that. But if you can stop Shallow who from having a good time in the side lane, that might be enough value by itself. He doesn't overstay. Carries on that top side. Hoya doesn't have that dominance for an extra health anymore. He does need to care for Care. Care is an assassin right now with the opportunity.
Be very difficult. Ixtal's impact coming across the wall. Hoya tries to get a stun, does something back, but there's just so much damage. There's nothing to be done. Care gets some damage back and kills off the crocodile. You're right. He's an assassin, all right. He
has the opportunity. The lethality and the Gatling gun shreds so much base armor. He doesn't even have that much to begin with. So Hoya down is at the cost, of course, you know, Shallow, who doesn't have his ultimate. That's a big thing, but it does mean that FPX have that top lane pushed in now to go towards that Herald. They don't even give up anything in mid lane. UCal forces a teleport out from Care. Of course, UCal couldn't have teleported towards the top lane because he has Ignite. He's been playing for that individual advantage. Doesn't even have that. He needs to be playing now, really try and get some aggressive plays done. Goes straight onto the Valkyrie, which does a lot of damage, though. And that, the Valkyrie damage ticking over time, which makes that trade even. Chocho caught.
Got caught a lot the last game as well. We'll throw the Magnet Storm in. Beitron gets hope, but the damage is just brutal back. And now 1xn avoids a deadly flourish, but it's Beitron who gets eviscerated. There's 2 dead.
It was, and you know what? I don't even think this that surprising. The Jhin ult hits and everything else follows on top of it. The Jhin W rather. Beitron just stands there and goes, well, guess I'm dead. 1xn gets himself out safely with that gate, but it feels like TT... They over-aggress into the active range of FPX without being able to close down enough people. 1xn has flash, has ult. They need to be very careful going into him still all the same. But while all this has happened, Dogtime's picked up a decent amount of gold now from a couple of these fringe kills as TT walk in a little too far.
The replay again, because it is initially an attempted invade from Thunder Talk, and they're the ones to find the first pick.
Yes. And they get the kill onto life, which is fine, but the hook already lands, the damage happens there, and Beitron takes a lot of damage. But just look at this, right? I mean, I don't think it's that surprising once those skill shot hits that he gets exploded. You know, you look at that, it's just like, well, okay, he has no armor, and the long-range damage comes through. Jhin is not against hyper tanks in this game. He is going to do damage. We've already seen what the Corki can do.
Big moment, of course. Beitron decides not to pull the ult. Wasn't going to get that much value, especially when you've got a dragon fight coming up in 30 seconds. You did not want that on cooldown. Care, about to get jumped on. Takes a single auto for his trouble, though, so should be fine.
What are the next moments of the game we need to be paying attention to? Dragon, 30 seconds, everyone going around there. When's the next hook going to land? These random skill shots from FPX, if they land first, can determine the game.
Speeds himself up, does life, but can't do too much with the afterburners, and now has to deal with being out of gas for a second or two. Towards the mid lane we go. Without the turret there, it's a lot easier for FPX to command control of the mid lane.
UCal is pushing out bot lane. That'll give TT some entrance there, but there you can see the FPX. They have good vision control, and they've got a lot of fog of war. If we could toggle over to TT's vision right now, which is exactly what they've done, look at how Blitzcrank can just control this area. So dangerous. Who can tank the hook? Chocho with this, and that's about it.
Chocho gets tanked very low, does go down, but the damage back is pretty huge.
That's one kill back.
Lands the ult, and that makes it a 1-for-1. Both supports down.
Jhin ult coming back. They're trying to get some poke back. Hoya needs to tank some of this up. If 1xn eats another shot, this fight could just be very, very hard to work with. Fourth shot being held. Goes on to Beitron. 1xn has the rifle turrets.
Does a lot of damage back. Shallow, who though is a very tanky boy. Down to about half HP as the dragon fight commences. Big swell seal to 1xn. Needs to be afraid of the lilting lullaby being pulled. Milky Way holds off. On the other side, Yukon chasing 2 away. Dragon secured. Now the fight afterwards. Flash on forwards for the blooming blow. 1xn gets the kill. Stays alive. Flash on forward for Shallow to finally kill off the Aphelios, but the damage in many ways already done. Dogtown down so low. Yukal gets flash hooked, and Yukal can go nowhere, does go down, and that makes it a 3v2 in the mid lane. Flash for the Impale. Hoya taken low. Dogtown waiting for the reload. Cannot get in range for the Q, and Dogtown just brings the Crocodile down.
Oh man, there are only 2 things certain in life. I guess in this case it's death, but not death, it's life. It's the thing which comes before it. That Blitzcrank, those hooks, so important. Really feels like the Blitzcrank has been catching out TT before they can win out a lot of these fights. They get the vision control, the hook lands in, and it gets a huge amount of damage. And then you can see the collective value here. Huge burst coming in from 1xn, but look how much of his kit he has to use here. He uses his ultimate, and yes, he has the rifle turrets, but the Jin ult zones him out, and he's already half HP. Feels like TT just couldn't reform their battle lines and give 1xn a platform to play around. Same with Yukal. He doesn't have the damage to like 100% win out these fights right now. Hoya does manage to get a good flash forward onto Care. I wonder if that should have gone on to Dogtown. I'm not going to lie. I think Dogtown actually panic cleansed away from nothing as well there, all the same. Damage could have been just enough. 1xn gets 1 kill back. He just doesn't have the tank killing potential against Shallow.
And Chocho respawns, gets over the wall,
I love this,
flashes
man.
for the hook. That's off a Hexgate respawn. That's how he got there.
That is so funny. Very nearly does Dogtown die over to Hoya as well. The Renekton struggling to get big value. I think at this point you just much prefer to have a tank. Hoya is not going to be that useful. I feel like right now he's going to get into a very dangerous point. Life gets a ward over the wall. Swell Seed onto 2. Has the ult in 2 seconds, and it's come off of cooldown.
Lullaby. That's onto 2. Beige1's in trouble. Chocho gonna have anything else happen. You began to wonder. Milky Way certainly did with the ultimate pulled, but they won't get anything more.
I was actually a little bit worried there as we get the stun for the ult trade once again. Hoya's been pretty good at that against Shallow. He's down so much gold though that, again, this Renekton is just not going to have value beyond this point, folks. I'm sorry. If you're a fan of crocodiles and lizards, this one is not the day. But the thing that, back on the top side, I think you can see that Beitron was happy to tank a hook and just say, I will die in the enemy team because there's no flash in Milky Way, and there's a chance that Chocho can lock them into the Karthus passive. Very, very dangerous for FPX to underestimate Beitron. Both of these junglers, lots of gold, both at the double burn of Blackfire Torch and the Liandry's. You need to be very, very careful not to allow them into these big meat grinder fights.
Worth noting as well that it's not the Malignant second that we saw earlier today. They have actually gone towards the double burn early. They want that continual DPS, nice and quickly as Yukal hasn't had the easiest time on this Tristana, it has to be said. Very low impact so far, forced away from another turret in Care. Yes, he's died a couple times now, but is still very strong. And on the other side, look, Dogtown from being down 2,000 gold is now 2 items and well and truly back in this game.
Yeah, it feels like 1xn has been struggled to be enabled by his team. I think FPX has done a good job of keeping him at range to stop him from getting the huge, big, bursty fights, which 1xn on the FLS could absolutely look towards. TT, they're losing bits of vision control too. Shallow, who walking up, another Swell Seed, another ult!
Oh, it's off cooldown. That puts Beitwan in a dead spot. Nowhere to go. They hold on to him. There's no one around him. So the jungler is dead. Baron is spawned. They'll pull off a Requiem for a fair chunk, particularly onto Milky Way, but you've got to feel this is a Baron start.
Yukal doesn't end the buffering out. Just about pulls it actually a little bit after. FPX, they are using this Blitzcrank and the vision control masterfully. It's the Swell Seeds as well. Milky Way, fantastic play in the last couple of fights. Looking towards double Swell Seeds, getting those ultimates in. It makes Life's job so much easier. You can see that 1xn Beitron, despite the goal that they have, haven't been able to have clean fights. No one's really been able to face check effectively for them to set them up for success. They would love to have Xante right now. They'd love to have big tanky frontline. Just haven't been able to look towards it. Double Swell Seed again. Both get splashed by it. And at this point, the fight is effectively over. Beitron can never afford to get hit by that. He just could not be there.
Fortunate moment for them. Dead Karthus once more, and it's been some good moments from him, don't get me wrong, but struggling as the mid-game has rolled around to continually find places to be, and the pick combo from FPX is so difficult for the Karthus to manage.
It is, and I feel like a lot of the problems with Baytron and 1xn, and of course, well, UCAL to an extent, but he's caused his own issues. Look, he's at 2 items now, we'll see what he can do. But on the whole, I just think that Hoya and Chocho just haven't been able to face check in the way that they wanted to. You know, there's only so much you can expect of a Rel. I think that Chocho's done an admirable job on that level, just using the Celestial opposition for effectively the Crown of the Shattered Queen kind of passive. Just Jin trap, the Jin W, and Hoya has to tank the hook.
Not that much value from life, that one, though, but there's a Dominus down, and that could prove difficult as the fights roll on. Curtain call popped. Hoya has to face check, and he now in a dangerous position. Swellseed land forces 1xn to flash from that last shot.
And Dogtam, really good accuracy. We were saying, hey, he's only ever won 1 game on the champion, 1-5 all time, but it feels like this Jin has been doing lots of work. And once again, 1xn struggling to find fights. Having his flash blown defensively is the worst thing for TT right now. Great skill shot accuracy from FPX across this game has made sure that TT cannot fight effectively. That's exactly what their comp calls for. Good Jin Ws, good Swell Seeds, good Rockets to make the difference. It's going to buy them a lot of mid lane pressure. It's going to buy them over the Dragon as well to even up the Dragons 2-2. And it feels like TT don't have the front line to tank these skill shots.
And, you know, it's worth pointing out, again, 1xn's win rate on the Infelos isn't fantastic. He's been on teams that haven't been the best at facilitating him. And, well, the on-screen stuff, the flashy plays, the mechanics always feel good. Sometimes it feels like, for whatever reason, he is potentially exploitable in those moments between the plays, the connective tissue of the game. It's again down a key summoner, struggling to make his gold lead felt in this game.
Milky Way takes away a team blue buff. Remember, post 20 minutes, buffs are transferred to the entire team. Milky Way takes one away from Baytron. Importantly, Hoya uses the slice and dice on one of those minions to make sure he gets out safely. Looking at this point, that, oh my word, Care is going to be absolutely... Yeah, I could say it. He's shitting out damage, basically.
Yeah.
This little dude, this little Yordle Rocket is going to be packing a whole lot of heat. Milky Way alongside him as well. Dragon, of course, off the table. TT just trying to claim back some vision control. They cannot afford all this vision control to go the way of the Jin and the Blitzcrank. Look at this. Life on another dangerous angle. He can get this vision over the wall. TT needs to be so careful.
Life misses the hook, and that's how the wall of pain afterwards can prove pretty tricky. Flash of forwards. Chocho gonna be pulled back by the Impale. It just doesn't happen. They think they've got a catch on the Blitzcrank, and it goes so wrong. Baytron dead. Now into his passive form. 1xn trying to run away from Shallow Who, but he's dead as well. The Requiem after at least gets something. But it's too little, it's too late. Shallow just jumps UCAL into a wall. This Scorpion takes no damage at all. Both AD carries barely tickling the Guardian of Ixtal.
Yeah, I guess we've got a showing of the Scorpion King here today. Skarner has well and truly taken over the LPL. Feels like that time there's just not enough damage for 1xn to kill through the front line. How well is FPX playing around? Dogtam and Life picking out targets out of position, and then Shallow who's stopping any follow-up from coming through. Vision control, hooks onto the right people. Yes, this one misses, but it forces TT to position in a way which they can't fight back. And Shallow, who is so tanky, he can actually be a frontline in the way that Chocho and Hoya just can't be. The second hook lands, freebie kill onto the Karthus, which we've been worried about for so long. And it just feels like TT, they have been let down by their vision control and let down by their macro.
Problem with now this mid turret going down alongside all the other ones is to be able to fight for this vision control is so tricky because you're stepping so far away from anything resembling relative safety and constant vision control.
Now, TT, this game doesn't get any easier from this point. Once you start losing to a pick comp that can fire out a fog of war and lead to the death of anyone on the team, it doesn't tend to let up. You need to somehow break out of this chokehold very quickly. Baron's being started. It's going to go down quickly. There's a Leandries. There's the Blackfire Torch. This is a very high damage composition towards Baron, but they just can't face check.
Holding it at about 2/3 right now, going down. They have no idea. Swellseed comes down. That's got to give an idea off. The Lilting Lullaby lands. No way for Baytron to get in here. Baron taken pretty much for free. Great setup from FPX.
There's again another Swell Seed landing onto Baytron. They don't have the ults again, but they don't need them just yet. They get themselves a freebie Baron. They can wait until their cooldowns come back up. They can fight around the next dragon if they want to as well. That'll be after they get to push in with their Baron buff, and Care immediately gets to work using that elsewhere. I have no idea how he's continued to exacerbate this lead this far. 4,000 gold in the advantage over UCAL, one of the star players of TT, the star player of TT, but he has just not been a factor. Chocho gets hooked again, but he might be able to engage.
Down to about half HP. Remember, no Lilting Lullaby could prove a bit difficult.
Teleport.
Teleport's now beginning to fly. will force TT to back away. Chocho gets on the lightning storm though. That's huge. Moonlight Vigil. Burns one. Dogdam. Low. Not down. The fourth shot's finally taken out. The Buster Shot gets him 1xn with a Severum, a Crescendo and a Dream. Here comes the Requiem. Xiaolahu not burned out. Trying to get towards the Scorpion. And actually that will surely end the Baron shove. 4 for 3 and Thunder Talk hold the nerve.
Oh, Chocho, he is really the hero of this play. He gets hooked multiple times, but he knows he just needs to find and engage and tank up some skill shots. It ends up being FPX pinned against the wall, but they won't get themselves a good team fight, even though it felt like the carries were in a decent spot. See that care over the wall, good ability to jump in when he wants, but it's Chocho that tanks up so much of the front line for long enough finally to get something working. Ucal gives his life for some extra damage on Dogdam. Beitron gets an ult when he goes into his passive as well. Important for him to get some extra DPS across. 1xn, the only person surviving for his team, and it is technically a lost fight in terms of numbers, but that's way better than they thought they should get.
Turrets, there's 2-level disadvantages. You get spicy. Chocho is here. Not going to look for anything more. You began to wonder for a second. And 1xn does not go for what would have been the 1v2. Beitron forced to flash again from life on this Blitzcrank, who has been such a menace.
He has Beitron. You know what? I wonder if he should have gone towards Malignance anyway as the third item, just ult on cooldown, but I think he just wants to have that one big impactful fight with the Death Cap coming in third. He knows there's no point in going Zhonya's. He needs to just, sometimes even just eat the hook, die in the middle of the team and get value. At this point, it is huge value for him. The real thing now you need to pay attention to is how many summoner spells are available for the important members of TT to avoid stuff like Blitzcrank hooks and to maybe get themselves flashing forward into position as well. 1xn has it, Ucal doesn't, and of course Beitron doesn't have it on the same amount of time. FPX, they just need to keep landing skill shots. There's every chance they land a Jin W, they land a Swell Seed, and the game just ends off of that. That's legitimately the point that we're at right now. TT, they have so few tools to make that work, and most of it hinges around having good summoner spell usage.
Problem that FPX might start running into, though, is the Tristana's back in the game. 3 items complete, nearly at level 16, which will be a big point for the draw a bead passive as well. Karthus nearly at a 3rd item. Aphelios at nearly 4. If you don't kill all of them, and one of them gets to stand and fight in an extended kind of skirmish, that could get very difficult to manage. The damage is beginning to rack up here from Thunder Talk 2.
But the thing about Ucal's build is that it doesn't have an Infedge in it right now, which is where your damage really starts to take off. Of course, 1xn does have that, and he has the Lord Dominic's Regards, which is very good in terms of just that big armor penetration. There was a change to Lord Doms, by the way, for people that don't know. It doesn't give the Giant Slayer passive anymore, but it does give a lot more stats and recompense for it. Ucal walking forwards, Xiaolahu walking forwards again. Xiaolahu can get the ult, and he pings one.
Not the biggest target. Chocho gets to hop away, still taking about half HP. The Lilting Lullaby comes on, die redemption afterwards, just dead. Milky Way burns him out of nowhere. Now Hoya's teleported in.
There we go. This is the Hail Mary. He might just have to try and clear the wave, and the hook lands!
They got the hook. Xiaolahu taken very low, will actually likely burn very low outside of this. Massive ultimate from Karthus. The flash in, the Moonlight Vigil. Not enough to kill. Still not enough to kill the Scorpion. Hoya just about alive. It's a 2-for-1.
That felt like it should have been the biggest Mega Infernum bomb, but I think it only tags onto one person. I'm not even sure if it crits beyond that. Might have got a bit unlucky. FPX, though, we see, once again, singular skill shots are really, really powerful. You hit one of them, everything follows up. And once again, TT fighting so hard to just get any semblance of an even result. Xiaolahu does get the ult after he gets micro stun. Can't pull Chocho directly back into the team. You can see, basically, no one wants to tank the skill shot. They just say, look, he's getting stunned, he's going down, but we'll try and get our carries into a good enough position to fight back afterwards. Beitron should never path there. He has no flash, and it's a good blind hook, I believe, from life, but you should never go towards that. All the same, though, getting pulled into the enemy team and dying has value. Chocho, this time, not going to escape so easily.
Oh, he's dead to rights. That Ral beginning to look a little bit hobbled on this horse, made into glue once more. Hoyev might finally get a turret. This will be the first turret of the game, by the way, for Thunder Talk, who have failed to get to any of these structures in 31.5 minutes of gameplay.
And that is, that's a great point you bring up, Sam, because we were talking about how TT, they got themselves some good picks and some good kills, but we never really talked about the structures they had and the objectives they've had. It's been hard fought for them to get anywhere close to FPX's side of the map once they gave up that vision control. This is a exemplary performance of how to play Blitzcrank from Fog of War. You get that vision control, you just keep throwing threatening skill shots from out of Fog. FPX, they'll have a Baron to potentially claim for themselves in 20 seconds. TT, very hard for them to approach. They're, again, waiting for Chocho to tank a hook and get a Miracle Engage through the initial skill shots to make sure the carries have, you know, more than half HP at the start of a fight.
Silver lining. Okay, more like a bronze lining.
Yeah.
There are so many structures up that if Thundertalk can find the one fight they need, the amount of gold they could pick up, considering, yes, it's a big gold lead, but if they can get that one fight, their ability to just snowball that kind of objective bounty stacking could be pretty huge.
Big thing here. We have the rifle turrets very good at killing objectives. It just completely melts. They use the Aphelios weapons. Can they get out alive?
Shalafu on a massive flank, though. That Skarner is not tracked. Ixtal's impact about to go on to one extent. The hook lands. Aphelios down. Beitwan down. Dogdam is finally responded to, and that'll make it a couple back. The problem is everyone is dead. Yukal trying to reset and get out to safety some way, somehow. It'll be, in the end, you feel, a 4 for 2, but Baron was taken by Thundertalk in the blink of an eye.
They take it so quickly. This is what the Aphelios can do with the Calibrum Crescendum, the rifle turret. It basically gives you a free auto-attack reset every time the turret fires, doubles your attack speed in some cases, on what extent shreds the Baron alongside the Karthus, two of the best taking champions of the Baron in the game. Yukal as well in this fight. I really want you to pay attention to how he just uses the item breakpoint despite the fact that he is down so much gold. You mentioned this earlier, he has the items. 1xN probably should have positioned himself behind Hoya. I don't think there's any reason for you to position towards that tri-brush. You've given up so much vision control, you know it's likely that someone's going to be running towards you. Yukal at least gets one, and at least gets one Baron buff out.
It's a big moment. It means the game can't quite end right here. The problem is it'll be Hexol in 5 seconds, and I just have no idea how they're going to get over to even consider contesting that.
Yeah, me neither. And this is a problem because FPX can proc that soul very easily. All of these long-range skill shots, they'll have that extra slow, the extra damage on top of it too. Very, very powerful. And you can see that actually TT, they are just letting it go. They just want to get some farm elsewhere. They have one Baron buff to potentially push in somewhere else. See that live Hex flashing about the place, getting vision control. Again, this is how it starts. You get yourself the extra vision control. See what can happen. Oh my god, that's a single auto attack from 1xN, empowered by the Calibrum Mark, the Moonshot. That's how much damage he's got to bring to bear. Couldn't even show that in the last fight. If FPX fights straight up, and it is straight DPS versus DPS, TT win bite right now, by the way. They will actually win, but they just find it so hard to get that damage down.
Hexol and the range, and this kind of combo is so hard to manage. Lilting Lullaby is QSS'd out, but the base is broken in the face of the Baron. 2 inhibitors currently being
teleport, deep teleport. Who's that coming from? That's coming from Hoya. Where's the other teleports?
Oh boy, that's very deep. Hoya, he's just gone. It's just worked out so very poorly. Beitwan flashes out, still going to die. The Karthus may be forced to ult right now in a requiem for the game. The Moonlight Vigil is solid, but Milky Way World Golden Retriever at the game. Looking like a dog with a bone. FPX begin to step on forward and savage the remains of Thundertalk.
Hoya gets melted. We will be going to a game 3. A Zhonya's on the critical ultimate from 1xN. It means that he cannot impact the fight. The ultimate could have changed everything, but FPX execute their way through to a game 2 victory. It felt like this one was getting a bit tense. They couldn't quite close out the game with the picks that they wanted to early, but they held the line, and it will be going to a game 3 full distance in the Fearless Draft.
Oh man, and the picks start to get a little bit hard now when you start running with 5 picks.